Hello, everybody, and welcome back for our next series on your Friday broadcast of LCS Academy Week 7. We got CLG Academy taking on 100 Thieves Academy, the team that was at the top of the standings for so long before dropping their spot now to Golden Guardians, who just split their series against TSM. So, hey, there's an opportunity for CLG to catch back up against 100 Thieves, the defending Proving Grounds champions from last year, but with a very different look. I'm going to talk about CLG first because, of course, they are the team that's been hot for debate lately, Joshi. We even had Cubby and Kelsey debate at the top of the show. What is happening with CLG? Is it other teams getting better? Is it CLG slumping? A lot of different ways to look at this. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of hard to say, like, which one is which, right? Every team is constantly improving, and if CLG is just improving slower than the other teams, then yeah, other teams are going to start catching up. But I really agree with what both Kabi and Kelsey was saying at the top of the day, right? We are seeing that there isn't the same kind of top lane focus coming out from CLG that has allowed Dokla to get such large leads over almost all the other teams so far.
Yeah, it was Dokla sometimes getting leads by himself, but also Breezy getting priority bot lane, going top lane with Rosethorn at the same windows and finding those plays. We haven't seen as much of that textbook style play from CLG Academy going forward, but what are we looking at for 100 Thieves now? Or as we do actually get the CLG Academy players at the nameplates underneath us here, they're still hoping to turn their fortunes around. But their opposition, Rafa, will be 100 Thieves Academy. Again, a team that I've been struggling overall to really put a finger on, like, what is their key play style? What is their win condition? It feels like they've been trying a lot of different stuff throughout the split. Oh, I don't know. Rafa's muted on my
There we
end.
go.
There we go.
I'm muted.
I was going to say, I don't know if you're talking, buddy.
Welcome back.
Okay, as I was saying, 100 Thieves find themselves tied for 6 currently in the standings right now, which kind of defies our expectations for this team overall because a lot of us had them poised as one of the top 3 teams by the end of the split. But because 100 Thieves have been, not only experiencing some games where I feel like the synergy between Kenvi and the rest of the map doesn't necessarily sync up as well as we would have normally seen from the past when Luger and Poom were on the table. I think Wixie and Busio being some of the newer members and some of the more high prospects, while yes, we have great hype around them, and Busio has, as an individual, been popping off in a lot of these games, I think it doesn't necessarily lead up to on the same page with Kenvi all the time.
It's tough for the team to always find the same plays at the same time. And now 3-7 on the second round robin. They're also looking to turn their fortunes around. So both of these teams actually have negative win rates when you just look at the second half of the split. That's not where you want your trajectory to be going into Proving Grounds. You want to be one of the teams that's peaking towards the top. So let's take a look at where we expect a lot of the action to be between these two. Because if you were listened to the debate segment at the top of the day, CLG Academy have been playing a lot through bot lane recently, playing more prio picks and actually looking for the 2v2. And an interesting story here, because we actually have some ex-teammates in the bottom half of the map for both of these teams, right, Joshi?
Yeah, Wixie and Breezy spent a lot of time playing together down there in the bottom side of the map, and now they have broken up, and Prismal has taken away, taken away his date. It is going to be very entertaining to watch. And I know
this is Breezy going back to the old fling, right? Because he was with Prismal on 100 Thieves Academy back in the day, and then Breezy was with Wixie. Yeah, it's a love triangle happening here.
All of these stats that you see on your screen are pretty self-explanatory. You've seen all of them before, but I do want to take a brief moment to explain what OJGP at 8-A means, because I know you guys were confused. I know Twitch chat doesn't know what that is either. So that is opposing jungle proximity at 8 minus the average. So what this means is that they are both getting more jungle attention than what you would normally be expecting for their roles. They're both getting a lot of people coming in from the other jungle in order to try and interrupt a lot of the things that we've been seeing. But so much of their focus for both of these guys has been in lane focus, especially for Wixie. I was a little bit surprised to see that there weren't more jungle attention coming down to his bottom lane.
That's got to be the most threatening stat annotation I've ever seen in my entire life. But thank you, Joshi, for blessing us with that one. As you take a look at some of the play style of these teams as well, we'll start to see maybe why both of these bot lanes have these magnets on them that get the enemy jungler to come in. Part of it for CLG is honestly that I think it's mostly Rosethorn's fault. The enemy jungler has to go down there because Rosethorn's always looking down there too.
True.
The thing, though, is that most of these clips that we're going to be seeing, Kangas, is from 100 Thieves' encounter with CLG last time back in week 3. And 100 Thieves stomped them and ended CLG's undefeated series streak. It wasn't necessarily the first time they lost a game, but it was the first time they ever lost a match. Every time CLG had been able to at least pull out a 2-0 sweep or a draw. So, and you get to see a lot of this stemmed from the debut of Wixie and Busio finally coming to the roster and just proving that they are one of the most dominant bot lanes so far that we have experienced in Academy. Now, we haven't seen the same consistent performance from these two so far over the next several weeks, and now finding ourselves in week 7. But CLG find themselves with a chip on their shoulder coming back, looking for their rematch against 100 Thieves this time
and
around.
a reminder also that that was one of 2 O2s that CLG have faced. The other one was yesterday. It was just last night against Signitas. So yeah, CLG might be sweating here, Joshi.
Yeah, it's definitely a big turnaround for what we've been seeing from CLG, but I'm pretty confident they can turn it around. It feels like a lot of the things that they've been doing are very easy to kind of focus on because like, yeah, just go back to the way we were playing before and we should be able to have a lot of success. Now, one other player I kind of want to touch on is the fact that Busio, kid's got hands. Kid's got crazy hands coming through. The biggest thing is that he's constantly coming through very, very aggressive as they always look to try and make these big plays because he knows how to push buttons.
Breezy's been one of the supports I've had my eye on for a couple of years now as somebody that I think could be pushing up to that LCS level. But Busio's coming in here and already turning heads as one of the youngest players, if not, I think the youngest player that we have in the league. I'll actually have to take another look at those numbers, but either way, Instinct. All right. All right. Instinct and Busio, they're close, though. But either way, the bot lane's where we expect the action to be for this next match. Best of 2 ahead of us, and I am hearing that Pick and Ban is now ready. So, Rafa, Joshi, one more time. I'm going to pass it to you this time, Rafa. Are you ready to catch it? Are you ready to go? What? Do I throw something, or do I just drop it? Here. Have a brush. Take it.
Oh, okay. Hey, look at that. I got it. Let's go.
Oh, I love you guys.
Love you too, Josh. Thanks for casting and putting up with us.
Oh,
CLG,
you're welcome.
100 Thieves Academy. As we noted before, this was the first time CLG ever got swept by an opponent. And I don't want to say it was the lead to CLG's decline in comparison to their incredible first few weeks performance in Academy. But 100 Thieves, they also suffered a 0-2 sweep yesterday. So both of these teams are looking to pick up at least a win, if not a series sweep, in their last day of week 7.
Yeah, and we do have to clarify like where these teams are currently at, right? You know, there's a conversation about whether it's the blob or the clump, but the big point is that 100 Thieves are still in just a couple of games separated from so many teams, and they are still in a spot where they're 6th place spot in order to get them to move on is still in jeopardy. They need to be continuing to find these wins, whereas CLG is a little bit safer. It would be much harder for them to not get that top 6 spot. So CLG going to be looking for an opportunity to continue finding these wins, whereas 100 Thieves, they are a little bit more desperate to actually try and find them. And as we look through these bans, pretty standard stuff coming out, but it looks like another Jinx of Failures trade is going to be coming through.
A lot of top lane picks, though, from CLG. So it's really trying to limit down Gamsu's champion pool. And with the Gwen gone, there's not many viable blind picks that you can really pick into Doka without him having a really strong counter option into it. I think the biggest thing that I would like to see from Gamsu is maybe like a Gragas. I know that that pick has really gone by the wayside, and a lot of top laners have just forgotten about it because they prefer to play the carry top laners like the Camille and the Fior and the Rivenas we've seen before. But I think Gamsu is just, his tank play has been absolutely perennial, and even on his time when he came late into 100 Thieves Next during the summer last year, that was what helped 100 Thieves Next be such a strong force in the team fighting stage.
Yeah, and Gamsu has typically been a part of a lot of the fights when 100 Thieves are winning. They need to make sure that they bring him to the fight so that they have these opportunities. Now, I'm a little bit surprised that Jinx was picked up as the first pick on red side. Usually it's the first pick for blue side, but instead, Wixie very happy to take the other side of the Jinx of Fearless, and that means that Prismal is going to be getting that Jinx. But I also love to see the Tahm Kench coming through, and again, the only pick that's a little bit surprising to me here is that Rosethorn is going for the Lee Sin right off the bat, not because I think it's a bad champion, but just because people haven't really been playing this guy, right? He's been going for a lot more Xin Zhao, the Jarvan, even the Rek'Sai, things that are very active in the early game, but also have a little bit more crowd control right off the bat.
Well, Rosethorn, if we remember back to week 1 of CLG Academy, I'm trying to remember which team they did it again. I think it was Team Liquid, if I'm not mistaken, had that incredible Warthog kick flash play that won them the game, and Rosethorn has definitely pulled out highlight montages on this Lee Sin before. And sometimes when we talk about, teams when they're kind of on the back foot, when they're struggling in the week, I mean, sometimes you can adapt to the meta and, what the other teams are playing. The other good thing to do is just go back to comfort.
Yeah.
Go back to what you are good at doing, right?
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? And the rest of the draft looking fairly standard at this point. Thresh and Tahm Kench both providing a lot of safety to your individual marksmen. Tahm Kench with a little bit more engaged potential, whereas Thresh is very versatile and can kind of fulfill any role. Now, we do have to pay attention to the fact that Dokla is going to be getting counter pick up here on the top side, which is going to mean that we are going to see Gamsu go for something where he is more comfortable taking a bit of all comers, and that's always a difficult time for them to go for. Gamsu had a very strong early start to the season, but since then has kind of been relatively quiet, not necessarily performing poorly, but just not necessarily being this huge impact on a lot of their games. And I feel like that's been a big part of why 100 Thieves aren't necessarily finding as many wins in the second half of the season.
Both of the mid laners being banned out in Syndra and Ari, limiting down what counter pick options available. Whoa. Is right, Josh.
That's okay, so we're seeing a lot of parallels between these two teams, right? Twisted Fate, Rise, both have that effectively point and click lockdown in order to get the other mid laner stuck where they can't really do anything. And with the bottom lane, a lot of safety being provided to both AD carries. And so if these are going to remain true, expect a very aggressive jungler coming through from Kenvi. Graves kind of fits that docket, but wasn't quite what I was expecting. But the big thing is he's going to be able to play really effectively with the ability to actually go for plays in the mid lane. And so as the Graves gets locked in and the Xin Zhao is hovered, it implies that this is actually a Graves coming in for Gamsu, who is, again, a very good champion, just kind of taking all comers. He has prio almost all the time, and he isn't going to get severely outranged by most members of CLG.
Tryndamere. I feel like Dokla can just slam Tryndamere here, no?
He can. It's not bad. It's not immediately winning, but it is something that forces Gamsu to take Ghost instead of going for the teleport like you oftentimes do, because otherwise you are just going to get run down by the Tryndamere.
CLG just going over some of the Kenvi signature jungle picks in the Kayn and the Nidalee before they finally settled down with the Tryndamere counter pick into the Graves. Now, as you said before, it's not immediately winning, but thanks to some of the Eastern region showing us how it's done over in LCK and LPL, once the Tryndamere gets going, it's really damn difficult for Graves to keep up.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we touched on, right? The traditional way of playing this matchup is as the Graves, you will also want to go Ghost so that you can keep your distance from Tryndamere. The one thing that Tryndamere is weak to from Graves is the fact that it is actually a ranged versus melee matchup. If Tryndamere can't hit you, he can't do any damage. So I'm expecting to see that switch around. But again, lots of parallels between these two teams. You have strong split push, strong AD threats in the top side. You have these ganking junglers with point and click crowd control in the mid lane, and the bottom side a ton of safety. So these two teams do very similar things just across the entire board, and it comes down to a game of who's going to be executing on this plan better. Historically, that went to 100 Thieves, but this is 4 weeks later. A whole month has passed since these two last played against each other.
I will say one of the things that is nice for 100 Thieves looking at CLG's composition is that the only magic damage that is coming in is Twisted Fate. And that's not really a strong or significant source of magic damage because he's building a lot of utility items early on before he actually gets to invest into things like maybe a Lich Bane third item or something else that is super aggressive, right? So if I'm 100 Thieves and I'm members like Kenvi and Gamsu, I'm just like, all right, let's just stack armor this game, guys. We'll ignore triple, and we should be just fine against what is basically the effective damage output of a Jinx and a Tryndamere.
Yeah, Death Stance looks really good this game, right? Because the magic damage is mitigated by that now as well. So expect to see that kind of stuff coming out from both Gamsu and Kenvi this game. They want to make sure that they are never a threat of going down. We do actually see that Gamsu is going to be shifting over towards the Ghost. So called it there. Even kind of looking across the board, there's a lot of similarities even in terms of like the rune traces that have been picked up. Both Jimmy and Triple going for the unsealed spellbook, and that's typical for Twisted Fate, but nowhere near as common for Rise.
The flip side too is maybe Jimmy and just trying to match the flexibility that Triple will be offering this game. We've seen some crazy things in the past before with Twist of Fate on Sealed Spellbook, being able to get smite steals. Jojo Pyun looking at you during the lock-in tournament. That was pretty sick.
Ooh.
And for the rest of CLG, I know you mentioned at the top of the table or the top of the day that our most valuable prospect is starting to come to a close. Whoa, hold up.
I haven't seen this before.
That is sick.
Let's go. All right,
Dude,
production.
the observing game for the opening cinematic of the match has been quite clean this week. I don't think we've ever done it before week 7, and suddenly our observer's like, you know what, let's spice
it up
things
a little
up
bit.
a bit.
Now, I also saw that it was Shadow Fury who was our observer today, and we were giving credit to Leche earlier, so just kind of curious
Oh,
which one
my
it is
bad.
because there have been some new ones.
Oh, no, wait.
No. Is it
they're
Leche?
saying no.
Hold on, we'll get back. Yeah,
Yes.
okay, it's Leche today. Okay. Leche has been very aggressive whenever we give credit to the wrong person. He's like, no, that was me. Only Leche. Pay attention to me. So,
Hashtag Leche fan.
Leche fandom. So, this is a situation where, remember yesterday, we were watching Chad go in for the early aggressive play because, quote, Lee Sin cannot ward his entrances, and that means there are opportunities to try and invade him early. Kenby does just that, and it means that Rosethorn has to be a little bit more careful, not letting Kenby just walk into the jungle, but luckily for Rosethorn, Kenby's nowhere near.
And Dokla is also taking posts to give Rosethorn a little bit of help, just to make sure that if Kenby and Gomsu wanted to try something cheeky like Immortals did yesterday, that they at least would have an even numbers playing field. But Gomsu is just doing the quite opposite, making sure that Kenby gets a nice leash as well so that he is somewhat expedited in the clear and matches up with Rosethorn's timings.
Yeah. Now, remember, one of the reasons why Twisted Fate has become much less popular on the 12.4 patch and the 12.3 was the fact that he lost a lot of attack speed early on, right? His E doesn't do as much for him as it used to, and it means that his CSing patterns are a little weaker, his trading patterns aren't as exciting, and in general, the character feels just a little bit worse to play. So I'm kind of expecting to see Jimin have a lot of success here in terms of the actual laning part of this matchup, but not necessarily going to be able to react to the roams as well as Triple does. So when we see level 6 start to come through, I'm expecting to see a lot of mobility on this map as it becomes a very finesse-focused game.
The other thing that I want to look at too is CLG have, by going back to their roots and going back to what made them so successful, is Rosethorn playing early game champions that have a lot of agency, and Triple playing a champion that allows him to facilitate someone like Dokla, who is taking this counterpick matchup in the Tryndamere. Not going to be winning immediately, but if they get out of lane and they start snowballing kills onto Dokla, giving him gold, this split push way is one way to accelerate the game. But Rosethorn can just look at mid lane. Gold card already activated on the Jimmian. He locks him down. Can Jimmian flash away in time? Might be flashing back from Rosethorn Triple, but they just take the flash advantage and take it away.
I mean, that's typical Rosethorn stuff, always looking for these early plays.
Uh-oh. A close call from Rosethorn was looking to invade right onto the chicken nuggets for Kenvi, but he pops out of nowhere from behind Fog of War and forces him to flash.
Yeah, I mean, again, very typical stuff coming out from Rosethorn. Looking for these early plays, going Red Raptors Gromp into gank mid lane. Oftentimes something that will pay dividends. It ends up being a flash for flash, so not a huge advantage really going over, but that does mean the flash coming out for Rise is going to be more pivotal for the upcoming crowd control chains that we saw from Triple in the next couple of minutes than it will be for Lee Sin. So Rosethorn going back to clear out his jungle, going to be very happy with this situation, just needs to come back and finish the job.
And even if Rosethorn doesn't come back, if Triple is able to play with that pressure, knowing that he has the summoner advantage, Jimmy has to always respect if he doesn't have vision of Rosethorn or has an information on where he could be. And that forces Jimmy to step back and will give Triple opportunity to get priority, which will then allow him to roam and then affect lanes like Dokla in the top lane.
I also want to give a quick shout out to Breezy coming through. He always knows that he doesn't need to be in lane while his AD carry is walking back. So coming in, see if there's anything to do, realize that nobody's there. Busio also there as well, because both of them recognize, like, you know, this is just the AD carries farming. There's not a big opportunity for either of us to make big plays happen. And as we push both waves in, notice that both Prismal and Wixie have Coles running. Not something that we've been seeing a whole lot in this matchup, just because you're a bit more focused on trying to find laning advantages, and Cole usually doesn't provide that.
Hey, Prismo Wixie just opened up all chat and said, yo, you want to farm this
Same
game?
team?
Yeah, I can farm.
Same team? Well, Dokla.
Oh, Dokla popping the ghost. Does he want to go for the dive on the
He's level
Gamsu?
5.
Not quite. It's both ghosts being popped. Kenvi is here first. Can he catch out Dokla? But they're both too fast, so Dokla will be able to retreat back into the safety of his turret.
Yep. Also, Kenvi is around, so Dokla not really going to be able to find a whole lot of anything. But that's exactly why you take the ghost. The fact that Gamsu is able to create enough space means that he's not really under threat of ever going down, like a lot of top laners would be in that exact situation. So we get to see why the meta has evolved to the way that it has, and at the same time, Rosethorn, we were saying that they were having some trouble actually capitalizing on the fact that they spend a lot more time in the bottom lane with this jungler. He's coming down once again and not going to be able to actually find any ganks. Just going to be spending some time and starting up the dragon.
He has priority. Prismo and Breezy just getting a little bit of the jungle hover, where it's not necessarily a real gank, but it's just enough that they can safely push in the lane without worrying about being overextended. And the priority gain now nets them first dragon.
Hextech Strike is nice to pick up, right? The attack speed and the cooldown reduction, or the haste as it is currently called. Thank you, Riot, for changing up all the words on what we are used to. But it's not going to be the end of the world, right? It's mostly just going to be a little bit of stats that you would oftentimes not notice in your average game. And CLG, they're once again coming towards the mid lane. Remember, there's no flash on Jimian, so if he gets hit by a gold card, there's not a lot that he can do about it.
Jimian is stepping away. Oh, this control ward is going to be tricky. A triple flashing forward. Does they line up? Rosethorn can't quite close the distance yet. And there's no CC follow-up. And just, you can see the vision for the play, but
It's a bit too
the
fast.
timing, not quite right.
I mean, that's the kind of tough spot where CLG really wanted to make the play happen. They just couldn't and tried to force it anyway. And that's something that we don't often see from CLG. They tend to have a much higher success rate with a lot of these early plays. But as it's currently standing, 100 Thieves are very happy with this situation. Now, the big thing is Triple, even though he has no flash, still has his ultimate. And as this game, relatively slow, comes around, Triple's first ultimate is going to make a lot of difference. I'm kind of expecting him to try and go top and potentially use Dokla's ultimate to actually get a dive.
Well, Jimian's flash will be coming up before triples now, and now the opposite question is the same for 100 Thieves. Because this is now a situation where triple is down a flash, and Jimian can now present the same threat that CLG had over them.
Yeah. And I feel like, Mark, despite the fact that both these teams are kind of on a downswing currently, they still have a lot of individual talent. I want to bring back our most valuable prospect award that we've been hovering about. We actually have 2 people in this game who are on my shortlist, and a couple more are just, or 3 people are on my shortlist, and a couple more are just outside of that, right? Dokla and Kenvi and Busio all made it to at least my honorable mentions, but I feel like Triple in particular is also one of the mid laners that has been standing out so far during the season as somebody who, ever since he came in, has just looked really strong.
Yeah, the Ahri games have been quite immaculate. And then even when put on things like the LeBlanc and the Rise as well, has been no... Yeah, he hasn't been short of what you want to expect out of a mid laner, right?
Yeah.
And so Triple not only performing his job as what he's expected, but he's also going over. And a lot of the times in some of the midweek seasons for CLG, alongside Dokla, have been clutch game changers for CLG.
Yeah, as this Rift Herald does go over to 100 Thieves, it's been interesting to watch Triple grow up as a player, right? He was in a very similar spot to, we compared him to Darkwings yesterday as somebody who wasn't immediately super good when they came to Academy, but now that he has had a little bit more time to grow, is looking really strong against some of the imports that we've been seeing, like Jimian. Now, he hasn't built up a whole lead, but I was also expecting this to be a little bit more Rise favored than it currently looks like, and I think a big part of that was the fact that they got his flash out early.
But now that Jimian has his flash back up, should be able to contest more so of the wave. Triple, still no flash available, but as you noted before, has Destiny. We haven't really seen any other plays being made by CLG to start this facilitation of a snowball for Dokla. He's been able to get a really decent CS lead on Gamsu, but if you really want the Tryndamere to succeed, you have to get it crazily out of control, right? It can't just be passively gaining farm. You want to accelerate this game.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Tryndamere, people say he's a bad team fighter, but he's like not that bad. Oh, here's the play.
Well, Jimmy still has flash.
Where's the
Should
card?
be able to get out of this one, I imagine. Triple doesn't have flash available. Breezy trying to get in range, and you know, a nice attempt for Rosethorn, but it just gets Jimmy's flash once again.
Yeah, that looked like a play where Triple had just used his card on the wave, and it's unclear if that was Rosethorn going too early or Triple, you know, accidentally using a card at the wrong time, but it ends up meaning that Jimmy gets to walk away yet again. And I think that's the third time. Yeah, it's the third time that CLG have tried to lock down Jimmy and find that kill, and he survived all of them. I've criticized this player in the past, but one thing that's really hard to criticize is his defensive play has been immaculate.
You know, both you and Cubby have been kind of like on the teetering end, which should be another forced debate segment, I believe, of whether, you know, Jimmy's strength is his aggressive play or his defensive play. And Cubby was on the token who was like, oh yeah, Jimmy is going to be this monster carry. He's going to be so good. And you're just like,
He's fine.
I don't know about that.
Yeah.
He's fine.
Right, his defensive play has always been good, but we'll see how effectively he can actually try and carry this game, because now Triple's the one with no flash.
And he's baiting him in forward. He gets the gold card off, but Kenvi, the wind becomes lightning, just short range of Triple. And now Rosethorn is going to go back in. They're going to fight to the death, but they have the advantage because Breezy is there to lick them down, and it's first blood for Triple.
Never in a million years did I think that the first blood this game would be them trying to find another play onto Jimmy and Henry being the one going down. So that's going to be another dragon here getting picked up for CLG off of Kenvi just going in. And bit of a tough spot coming through 400 Thieves because I said these teams do very similar things, right? They spike at similar times across the board. They have the same kind of opportunities to go for plays. And as we go through this replay, we can kind of see that for this first time, anyway, CLG just do it a little bit better because, as you said, the wind becomes lightning means that Kenvi can't get in. And unfortunately, Crescent Guard isn't thrown out, and it's not enough. He doesn't have enough base stats to keep himself alive throughout all of the damage that's coming through.
2,000 gold lead now awarded to CLG thanks to not only the second dragon being picked up, but as well as first blood. Neither team has gone for the... No, I'm lying. Kenvi did pick up the Rift Herald a little bit before that play, but he hasn't gotten a chance to drop it yet. Plates haven't been secured for many of these teams, except for Prismal and Breezy, who have picked up 2 plates on the bottom side of the map. And Busio, alongside Kenvi, is going to try to answer back, trying to spike some gold back into Wixie's pockets.
Oh, flash. Oh, he couldn't click on it because the Rift Herald's too fat. That's funny. Yeah.
I've never seen that happen before. The Rift Herald actually griefing the play.
That's pretty funny. Well, Jimmy has no flash.
No flash. Okay, can Rosethorn get in range to kick flash? Gold card not quite available because he can't get in range. Jimmy is too fast.
Man. Jimmy constantly surviving all of these plays, like CLG just missing out on one part of the execution over and over, and it means that Jimmy remains alive. He's farming just fine, but one of the things that we haven't touched on is the fact that CLG now going for the top dive. I don't think they can do this. There are people here.
Yeah, Dokla's got to get out.
Goodbye.
Pops the Ghost and the Nos. He's speeding on out, but it is a Realm Warp traded and pressured towards the top side of the map, and now they just say, hey, they send Kenvi and Jimmy over there. Let's just yoink this.
All right, well, it ends up working out for the members of CLG, even if it was not the way that it was expected to go. But CLG, they are ever so slightly outlaning in every single part of the map. You have a CS lead top lane, you have a CS lead mid lane, you have a CS lead bot lane, and that's where a lot of this gold lead is coming through. Also the fact that they are getting more plates, right? The only place where plates has been picked up for 100 Thieves was in the bottom lane when they crashed the Rift Herald, but now Breezy has flash.
Ooh. And Busio, good death sentence, forcing the hand of Breezy. But Prismal still gets a chance to crash this wave. And he has Devour available in case Busio wants to go for a flash play forward and threaten Prismal's life. It's just Wixie cleaning up the wave. We're back to standard. And Rosethorn, man. I feel like Jimmy, if he was a taunting man or had some emotes, he should throw up the tent sign the next time he sees Rosethorn in his lane again.
He's been spending a lot of time there, and there's only a 2.5 camp difference coming in from the jungle, but everybody coming down bottom lane. Everybody's coming down bottom lane.
Wixie, no flash. Remember this. Busio does flash forward, throws down the box. Kenvi is in there, throws out the Crescent Guard and creates space, but Busio still falls to Prismal on the backhand. And Jimmy is here to the party, just a little too late, cannot save Fallen Comrade.
And look at this. Both teams, again, doing very similar things. They fight at similar ranges. The difference here is that Triple is a little bit faster to the play because he's got the Destiny instead of the Realm Warp. And it's going to be CLG picking up this first bottom lane turn. It's a much slower game than we usually see from CLG, but the results remain very similar. They constantly have these gold leads when they move in. And this game, as we crest the 15-minute mark for CLG, they're normally ahead about 2,000 gold on average. Now they're up 5.
And just looking back at this replay once again, as you said it before, Triple gets to be here first, right? And that facilitates the play. And even though we were expecting for CLG to be snowballing the top side of the map, Dokla has been just netting a CS lead just by himself.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the interesting things that we like to hype about Dokla, is that he's not necessarily a player that requires assistance from the rest of his team. If you give him the counterpick matchup and you just make sure that no one else comes to his lane, he will win the lane outright just fine.
Yeah. And we're seeing that right here. So I'm expecting to see something come out from 100 Thieves where they try and make a big play, because all of the teams that we've been watching today, even when behind, are willing to go for things. And 100 Thieves were one of the top teams for a reason. They were willing to do that just the same. And a couple things are attackable for CLG right now that I'd like to see 100 Thieves go for. One, Dokla has Kraken Slayer instead of Gale Force, meaning that he's much less mobile on this Tryndamere than you typically would expect. Two, Triple, I mean, he's had a couple opportunities where his flash was down, and Kenvi hasn't necessarily been going for any of these plays. And 100 Thieves, I feel like, could be a bit more proactive about trying to get Jimmy and sit up. As the Destiny goes top? Goes where?
Gamsu.
Top.
Oh, he's on it. Dokla's got to be the one taking the turret, though. And,
Okay, what about their other fight?
CLG, can they take this Rift Herald away? It is secured by Kenvi. Can he get out, though? He has flash available, pops the Crescent Guard, cannot get to the Lantern because... Oh, no way! A clutch flash lands on the Dark Passage, but it might be Bustio that falls.
Oh, no.
And all that for nothing because Triple closes the distance with flash, and Dokla finds an opportunity to close himself onto Gamsu. Nowhere else to run, all summoners being burned, and just like that, Joshi, the map has absolutely exploded, but the action continues. Wixie trades one back, but now he will fall to the final members of CLG.
Yeah, it was great play coming out from CLG. They are just a little bit more in sync than the 100 Thieves during this entire play. Somebody's making the call to go for it, and everybody is following it up. It's ended up being a little bit sloppy at the very end, but the results are still incredible. So just watch how quickly they all dogpile, and the way that Jimmy and Wixie end up moving back from this player, right? Jimmy and Wixie are in mid lane while all this is happening. They don't want any part of that. They aren't a firefighter, so they're going to be really struggling to actually participate in the rest of this play. And the only reason why they get a couple of kills back is because this turret, they don't focus it down quickly enough, and it gets a lot of damage. It basically solos Breezy.
And they didn't want no smoke and no peeks either,
peeks.
But instead they said y'all can have that. CLG definitely eating it all up with that ace at the end of it. And during the replay, Dokla managed to pick up the third dragon of the game. This puts them at Infernal Soul point.
Yep. And I do love some Infernal Soul. He does a lot of damage. And we were saying that they were a little bit low on magic damage. Suddenly, Triple's going to be much happier about that because he's getting that bonus percentage and just more raw damage if you actually get this Infernal Soul. So good stuff coming out from CLG in a very calm manner. We'll see if they can continue to take control of this and if we're going to get a fight over this blue buff.
You know, I was questioning whether CLG were concerned about taking this game on the slower pace and if they needed to truly accelerate it because of what we talked about before about armor stacking potential for 100 Thieves, but the way that they're playing this game out is just completely fine. But 100 Thieves, they're the ones that they are feeling the pressure. Rosethorn answers back, gets taken out by Kenvi, and now they're on the retreat. Triple has come in with the Destiny. They lock him down. Everfrost into Gold Card. Look at the damage, and Breezy follows up with a beautiful Abyssal dive.
Wait, when did Dokla get here?
The knock-up down. Bustio on the run. Prismal is popping the resets. Dokla picks one up as well, and they have the minion wave right on time to take down this tower.
When did Dokla get here? He just ran all the way from bottom lane in order to join the rest of the team, and I think this might actually be... Oh no, it's 19 minutes. There's no Baron even up at this point. But as we take another look at this, again, CLG are so smart about the way they play. Yeah, Dokla just runs across the entire map. They even ping him out. They know exactly where he is. But because the fight is breaking out, CLG are on the same page. They know how they want to play these fights, and that's what I was praising them for yesterday, is they play super intelligently. They don't go in until they are very confident that they're going to actually be picking up some kills. They are able to play around their opponent's ranges way better than other teams. I feel like it's been on full display throughout all these fights and why they have come out in such a dominant fashion in terms of kills.
And as you said before, because they picked up such a huge wipe before the Baron, they couldn't even take it off the back end. So that is a moment where CLG, feeling like DJ Khaled and suffering for success.
Yeah, a little bit too early, unfortunately. You're going to have to do it again. But the other thing we have to touch on is the fact that Jimian is scaling into this game. He's not going to be particularly weak, and the Rise scales very, very well. So lots of opportunities for 100 Thieves to try and come back. The problem is they're just really far behind, and they're not necessarily playing as cohesively as we've been seeing from CLG. Getting a turret is nice. They get a lot of gold off the objective bounty, but Jimian now needs to get out. He's okay. We're safe. Safe.
He's got Realm War too. Just
True.
in case things were really pressing him to get the hell out of there. But for CLG Academy, 7,000 gold ahead. 8,000, I should say. They are now prepping for the
Bang.
Baron. Oh, this is a huge pick. Kenvi might go down, but the Crescent Guard keeps him alive. Blinking HP, sub 100 at 65, and he still lives to tell the tale.
Yeah, I mean, Crescent Guard paying off quite a bit. Oh, triple.
Oh, really? Can they lock him down? They have Busio there. He pops the stasis, so it's the Zhonya's Hourglass as well. Triple will go down, but can CLG burn down the Baron fast enough that they spot them on the ward, but they have no way to take them off the Baron, and CLG will be able to get out.
Great play coming out from CLG, immediately reacting to the fact that they are jumping onto triple. I love the fact the 100 Thieves are still trying to do things. But one kill for the Baron, CLG are going to take that every single day of the week. And CLG, now that they have this tool, should be looking to try and crack the base. If they get all these waves pushed out, they can easily fall back to the Dragon, and the Baron gets the Infernal Soul, gets them the inhibitors. Everything is just stacking on top of each other for a big play. And normally, I feel like when we look at these games in Academy, it's oftentimes off of the back of individual players, but it just feels like CLG just playing so calm and collected that nobody's going for these big plays.
Well, Kenvi wants to force the opposition here, but Dokla still has the Undying range, and it's like, oh man. I don't even know what can I say about 100 Thieves. They feel like a fish out of water at this point, struggling to grasp for anything back in this game, but dying this close to the spawn of the Dragon means that CLG will surely net Infernal Soul.
That looked like a desperation play coming out from Kenvi, right? It's like, hey, I don't know how many people are here, but if I'm right that there's only one, we gotta go for this kind of play. Unfortunately, he was wrong. There was more CLG friends there than 100 Thieves friends, so lots of people are going to be bullying in, and they're going to be able to pick up this inhibitor before they even go back to the Infernal Soul. So CLG get a ton of money. They're going to be able to safely back away. They might even get a second inhibitor before they go out for the Dragon.
They are just rolling through all the advantages that they can while 100 Thieves were down numbers, right? But they won't be able to pick up the bottom inhibitor. All 5 members from 100 Thieves are here to defend, but they now have to deal with super minions pouring in through the mid lane. CLG can rotate this pressure on over, and you know what? Dokla, he already took the 3rd dragon by himself. They'll use that pressure so that he can solo it out, while the rest of the CLG maintains the pressure through the siege.
Really, really tough position. We're starting to see a little bit of armor come out from 100 Thieves. They do no damage.
Can they? Well, they can't even cut through Breezy. It's not even 100 Thieves that have to worry about the armor stacking, and a CLG, they're the ones that are deflecting a lot of the damage coming out from 100 Thieves' backline.
Yeah. I mean, notice the fact that Jimian is going for the tanky Rise build, right? He's got the bits of the Frozen Heart and the Fimbulwinter already completed, which means that he doesn't do as much magic damage. Now, Dokla just running around Gomsu at a half HP.
Dokla still has Undying range, so he's not necessarily in danger. Rosethorn gets caught up. Pops the stasis in the stopwatch. Breezy with the Devour. Flash from Kenvi with a 3-talent strike. Tries to knock up the Catfish.
Goes in.
Rosethorn goes back in. Is he trying to look for a kick flash play? But he still goes down. The kick only lands on a Jimian, but I think that should be enough for CLG. It's up to Gomsu and Busio, but they just don't do enough damage by themselves. CLG flashing forward, locks down Busio, and CLG with a very clean game against 100 Thieves, will be able to take game 1.
Clean and composed the entire way through. CLG are saying, we want to get back to the top of the standings and taking down 100 Thieves. Easy first step for them to get there. But that was only game 1, right? We get to see how 100 Thieves are going to bounce back because it didn't feel like they did a whole lot, to be entirely honest. And CLG were like, well, if you're not going to do anything, I'm going to make this play, and then I'm going to go for this. I'm going to gank Jimmy in 4 or 5 times in a row, and eventually one of them has to work, right? So CLG just kind of won on all fronts, and I'm really impressed with the fact that they were able to do that without a whole lot of repercussions.
It definitely felt like 100 Thieves were passengers this game. There weren't really strong playmaking moves made outside of the Rift Trail being taken and funneling some gold plates into Wixie, but outside of that, the one time Kenvi tried to answer back and take advantage of the flash advantage for Jimian, he ended up dying. And I hope that wasn't an emotional deterrent or a momentum stopper for 100 Thieves, but it just seemed like the rest of the game, it was CLG that was driving the tempo until the point where 100 Thieves were like, guys, we're falling way too far behind. We can no longer outscale them. We have to do something, and then it's too late.
Yeah. I kind of want to take a look down towards the bottom lane once again, because I feel like Wixie and Busio can start to turn this around, right? They got outlaned a little bit, but I think giving over the Jinx and getting the Aphelios in return was not a fair trade. Not a great trade to really go for. So it's something that I think 100 Thieves can play towards the Zoomers down in the bottom half of the map, the relative rookies who are looking to try and make a name. They are the ones who I feel are really trying to push things and prove that they are on the rise, that they are prospects worth looking at. I have Busio on my short list. I want to see him earn it.
Me too, man. You talked about before, most valuable prospect. Meanwhile, I know he went under the radar this game, but Dokla, fantastic game on the Tryndamere. He is on, many of our short lists for a reason, right? He has been just pretty much outperforming almost every single top laner in Academy. The goal difference that he amasses by himself, just thanks to lane matchups that he is able to get through draft, is absolutely outstanding. Yeah. The fact that he doesn't require any more resources.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of going back to something that I talked about at the very beginning of the day. Gamsu is not necessarily the loudest or the flashiest carry for the team, but he is always there in their wins, right? He is always part of the team fights. He was always doing his job, and he wasn't in a lot of the team fights this time around. They're not bringing him towards the rest of the team, and that's something where, it's not entirely on Gamsu. You do need somebody to stand up and just be like, hey, Gamsu, we need you to come over. We need to go for some of these plays. Otherwise, we're going to slowly lose when Dokla comes over and shoves in a wave and joins the rest of the team. So it's something where I feel like 100 Thieves have a lot of obvious things that they can do in order to give us a more competitive second half of the series. But we also saw a stomp in game 1 of our last series. So it's not out of the question that 100 Thieves turn it around.
Anything can happen in Academy, right? And we're definitely waiting to see some signs of life from 100 Thieves, whereas CLG looking to close this one out 2-0 to keep themselves on the up and up towards the end of Academy split. When we come back, it's going to be our halftime show with Kangas, so make sure you stick around.
Well, howdy, y'all, and welcome to another episode of On the Range, where we got some rambunctious critters out there in the Academy wilds that need some wrestling. Let's go ahead and get to it, shall we? Now we're in the top lane here. We got Big Dokes on the Crocodilian this time, and he's looking hungry as he's going in for his own solo bolo. But now we're going back to the mid lane, and we got Triple in his own solo bolo. Come hell or high water, CLG gonna take it all. Sheriff Tomo's got some hooligans to wrestle here, but luckily he's got Deputy Yuji going at him. The sniper's gonna go ahead and take his shots, and Yuji's there to lock him down. Yeah! Woohoo! Takeover's looking pretty hungry tonight, and Pretty ain't looking bigger than a minnow either. Takeover's gobbling him up easy, and he's gonna make it out alive. Boy, howdy! All right, now we're in the bot lane, and the 100 Thieves are looking pretty spicy, but whoa, Oh, they're switching sides on us, but they're still going because they're the Tom Kent and the Santa, and Santa's looking strong, but Wixie, he can't be stopped. They can't kill him. Oh, the law thinks they done found old outlaw Jimmy, but Jimmy is a little slippery son of a gun, and he's gonna make it out too. He's still walking away from the sheriffs, and the sheriffs ain't got no law in this town. Whoa, he's gonna make it out, but he's an outlaw, and you know outlaws, they always come in packs. The whole team is coming, and they ain't taking no prisoners from these sheriffs. The sheriffs still can't find nothing. They ain't putting nobody away, and the thieves gonna make it out with a heist. Woo! We got some spicy ones out there in the Academy Wilds, but we got them all wrangled and all put away in their pastures this week. But they'll be there next week on the next episode of On the Range.